Sometimes spaces in our home need a little bit of work. So today I'm going to go with you and talk to you about 5 questions to help fix your space. Alright, so we just wrapped up the Small Space Living series where I went through 5 different areas of our home and I talked about things that were working and we examined a couple of things that weren't working. I talked to you about the important things for me to make sure that those areas are working smoothly and that they are functional for our family. As I was doing this and I was encountering some areas that worked well and some areas that needed some attention, I noticed that there are some questions that I plan to ask myself as I move through some other areas of our home. If you're not familiar, we moved from a semi-large house to a semi-small house, and we are just continually learning to live in this space, learning to downsize, and it's really been good for our family. There have been some hard things about the transition, but it's been really good, and I've really enjoyed having less and living with less. This has come in the form of home items, it's come in the form of clothing by using a capsule wardrobe, and it's really helped me to examine what I'm bringing in the house, when I'm bringing it in, and then if I'm bringing something in, what can I cycle out in return? All right, so we're just gonna jump right in. I do wanna say before I start with the questions, of course there will be exceptions to every rule. So these will not be across the board questions that will apply to every area, but they're just a good starting place, a good jumping off point. All right, question number 1, can I get this item out one-handed? So of course, like I said, if it's a heavy item or something like that, of course that won't apply. But as I was going through the bathroom and I was looking at my daily use items, as I was in the kitchen and looking at the things that I use on a regular basis over and over again, as I'm getting things in and out of cabinets and drawers and the pantry, can I get this item out with one hand? Or do I have to stop what I'm doing, use 2 hands? Does it become this big, cumbersome thing? And that spills over into question number 2, which is, can I get this item out without upsetting other items? There are some areas in our homes, especially if you live in a small home like we do, where sometimes the storage is not always ideal. And there are enough things in the kitchen that I want to store that sometimes things have to nest or they have to stack. But if you find yourself nesting and stacking everything to the max, to where you can't get out a single thing without it becoming a process. Not only is this not really serving your space well, but this may also not be serving your time well. And actually getting things in and out may become a barrier to your everyday tasks of cleaning and getting ready and doing life. I know there are certainly some areas in our house, like our banquette. If you watched our first video of the Small Space Living series, our banquette is full, and it is kind of that situation where I can't get something out without getting other things out as well. Hopefully I will find a remedy for that, but I will say, as far as the kitchen, that's one of the few areas that's like that, and most everything else I can get something out one-handed or without upsetting something else. The third question is just simply, how do I feel in this space? I know we've all experienced this. Whenever I was going through this and I was working on these areas or just tweaking them a little bit, there's a decided difference in how I feel in a space that I have kind of touched and feel like I've at least finished for now versus a space that has piles. I know I mentioned in one of the videos, maintenance equals manageable and overhaul equals overwhelm. And I have thought of that time and time again in all different applications, but especially in areas of our home. I think if we can find ways to maintain those areas as opposed to putting tasks off until it becomes something really large, we just feel better, or at least I do as a general rule. So yeah, I think if there's a space that has been bothering you, ask yourself, how do I feel when I go into this space? Look up on thesaurus.com and figure out exactly what are these emotions that I'm feeling. And then you might be able to pinpoint why you're feeling them, what areas are causing you to feel that way, and then we can start working toward a solution. So I'm just gonna look at the stark contrast between synonyms that come up for calm versus synonyms that come up for chaotic or stressed. So as far as calm, we have cool, harmonious, low-key, serene, tranquil. So all of those are really wonderful words when we think about potential emotions to feel in our space. Whereas if I look up stressed, I have anxious, I have burdensome, I have nervousness or tension. And then of course when I look up chaotic, we have disorganized, we have tumultuous, we have turbulent. So these can just be some really good things to look at and consider. You know, we can look at even basic emotions. Do I feel happy when I walk in this room? Do I feel heavy when I walk in this room? Do I feel excited? Do I feel energized? So yes, the third question is, how do I feel when I walk into this space? All right, number 4 is a big one. Am I giving an occasional use item a daily use place of priority? So I mentioned already my daily use items for getting ready. Whenever I open my bathroom cabinet, the items that I see first and that are on the top are the things that I use every single day once I get out of the shower and as I'm getting ready for the day. So those items that I see first and the items that are on top, those are the things that I use every single day. And then from there, we kind of decrease. And next drawer down or next shelf down will be the things that I use maybe once a week. And then from there, there'll be the things that I use from time to time. And then maybe back in a corner are the things that I only use every now and again, but I don't want to get rid of them. That's kind of how I look at my space. Again, sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes things are in the best possible spot they can be in, even if it's not really a great spot. There's not always going to be a perfect answer for everything. But there are also times when things are in a spot just because that's where they've always been. And maybe there could be an alternate spot that we just haven't considered. All right, and number 5, if you watched my closet video that I just uploaded as the final video of the Small Space Living series, I already talked about this, but it's important enough to mention again. And that is, what is already working about this space? Chances are there's something that you like about the way that your space is. Maybe you like the placement of the furniture, or maybe you like the way that the light streams in at a certain time of day. Maybe you're fond of the way that it smells because of the essential oils that you use in that room. You know, start with something, anything that you love about that space. Use that as your starting point, use that as your priority, and then build on that. As I said in the closet video, if you do a complete overhaul, which like we said, overhaul equals overwhelm, maintenance equals manageability. If you just overhaul the whole thing and start from scratch, you're probably not going to like it, and it's probably not going to feel familiar to you. So I said really start with what you have, what's working, and then build upon that. I hope that these 5 questions can be helpful to you. I know that they have been helpful to me, and they will continue as I am tackling some areas of my home that are a little more difficult for me, like papers. So you guys will have to let me know in the comments if you have any tips of your own, or if any of these particularly resonated with you. All right, you guys, thank you so much for stopping by Yard Sale Squad, and I will talk to you in the next one.